G'day there viewers, my name is Cliff and welcome to my channel called Vintage Time. I'm certainly glad that you can join me today in this episode of how to cut gemstones, because we will be featuring a type of amethyst called Rose de France. For those of you who've never heard of Rose de France, it's a variety of amethyst. And Rose de France amethyst is a beautiful lightish pinkish stone, also known as lavender amethyst. The gemstone has become highly popular in the last few decades due to its fascinating colour. And in 1727 the gem first appeared in Europe as Brazilian amethyst. Within no time at all it became highly popular in France and England. When it comes to Rose de France, the most appreciated colour is the light rose, light lilac, lavender or mauve colours. This gemstone at times can also display what is known as pleochroism. This means that it has additional tones of red and blue, and it can appear depending on the direction of light striking the gem. So the pieces of Rose de France I held in my hand and the singular piece I'm holding now came from original tumbled stones that I had, and I cut them up in little slices or little cubes at my gem club. In this video I'll be faceting this piece of Rose de France, which will be a type of mixed cut, and also I'll be testing out and reviewing a new polishing disc I've never tried before. So please join me as I facet Rose de France. So before I start gluing it to the dopstick, I've quickly marked out the centre, which is pretty easy with a square type of gem, and we've all been through this process before of the first transfer. And for new viewers, I do this all the time: glue a dopstick to the gem and then we set the dop into the quill of the faceting machine. I'm starting off with a 100 grit diamond disc, and the reason why is that I have a fair bit of rough material to grind away. I have the protractor angle set at 42 degrees, and the reason why I have it set at that angle is because the critical angle for quartz is 40.49 degrees, and if I facet below that angle the gem will most likely be windowed. I personally believe that 40.49 degrees is a little bit too low to be cutting at that angle. I find that you don't get as much return when you're pushing the margins on such angles. I prefer to cut most of my quartz around about 42 to 43 degrees. I find that you get far more return from the pavilion through to the table. When I talk about the word return, I'm talking about what the gem is revealing in terms of sparkle and scintillation. As I mentioned earlier before, I'm faceting a mixed cut, and this particular design is actually sort of just coming out of my head. I'm making it up as I go along, so I don't have any design sheets or any schematics. In terms of design, so many gems look similar once they're finished, so I'm not technically going to claim this as a design I invented, as there may well have been several other gems that someone else has cut that look similar. To let you know where I'm at with the gem, I've initially done a very quick rough out of the pavilion, and when I say a rough out, that's just basically to remove material quickly, and then I'll go into doing the finer grinding or faceting with finer discs. So what I'm currently doing, I've set the protractor angle at 90 degrees, and I still have a bit of rough material to remove from the sides. So I'm creating a girdle outline and using a 100 grit disc, and then later on I'll go to an 800 grit disc and smooth things out. In this segment of the video I've done a quick rough out of the gem, and it's looking a little bit shabby of course, because my main intent is only to remove material and get a basic size of the gem. So one of the reasons I'm faceting Rose de France is because quite a few viewers and subscribers have been asking for quite a while whether I could facet Rose de France, and also I've had quite a few requests from people who would like to see me cut more gems on the 64 index wheel. So at the moment I'm faceting the pavilion, and I'm using an 800 grit disc, so I'm smoothing things out, and then I'll move on to a 3000 pre-polished disc. I'm faceting 32 facets, so I'm moving the index wheel 2 notches, so it's going up in groups of 2 from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And yes, 32 facets on a gem that's 8mm in size is quite a lot. So in the next segment you'll see the 32 facets that I've just cut. A couple of them aren't quite meeting center point, but I'll polish those in. So this is the new polishing disc that I bought and I'm going to test out. I've never used one of these before. It's called a lightning lap. I believe it's made in Australia, and basically it just has cerium oxide embedded into the lap. Just to let you know that the company that made this lap are not endorsing me to promote this lap. I paid for this lap out of my own money, and I thought I'd give it a go because I've heard a few good reports about it, and really I was looking for something that would actually polish quartz a lot quicker. And my initial thought so far is that it's very rough and grating in sound. So apart from the loud grinding sound that it makes when you're polishing the facets, something that I'm not used to, it seems to be polishing okay, but there's still some little scratches when you look closely under the loop, and hopefully that goes away. So I've gone right around the pavilion with the polishing lap, and it's starting to perform a lot better as it's wearing itself in. According to the instructions, before you use this lap you're supposed to actually scour it with a type of sandpaper, but I rang up the people I bought the lap from and they said, look, just start polishing with it, it should wear itself in, which is what it did. I'll talk a little bit later on about this polishing lap when I polish and finish off the crown, and I'll give you a few more thoughts about what I think about it. But at the moment I need to cut the corner facets of this gem, so it's pretty easy that I've got the protractor set at 90 degrees and I'm set to cut 4 corners. Now I've got the protractor angle set at 65 degrees. I need to cut another 4 facets on the pavilion, and these 4 facets have to be meeting the girdle outline. I'm using a 3000 pre-polished disc because these facets will cut really fast. So as you can see in this segment, I've cut the 4 pavilion facets at 65 degrees. They're not polished yet, and you can see the corner facets have been cut earlier on also. Now I've polished the girdle outline, and you can see the ring around the girdle where it's been polished using the lightning lap, and it seemed to have done a pretty good job. In the following scenes I've polished all the remaining facets on the pavilion. So once again I'm faceting the crown and doing the secondary transfer phase, and just gluing another dot stick to the gem and then removing the original dot by heat. To facet the crown I've decided to just do a step cut, which is pretty straightforward for most facetors, but I'm deciding to go for a fairly high profile crown. I just don't like real shallow crowns, so I'll create a fairly high profile, and I've got the angle set at 55 degrees. So at this stage there's lots of little decisions I need to come up with, because I'm not working from a plan, and I'm thinking to myself, well, how thick will the girdle be, or how thin will it be? How many steps do I really want to cut, and how large will the table be? And that's the great thing about faceting. In your first year or so, you don't always have to stick to the same plan. You don't always have to copycat other people. You can be your own person when it comes to faceting, because it is an art form. So as you can see, my 800 grit disc has created a lot of scratches on the surface of the facets, and this is a very old disc, so it's probably contaminated and I'll probably have to buy another one. So I've gone over these scratches with a 3000 grit pre-polished disc, and it's got rid of all those scratches. So pay attention to that. Eventually your discs do need replacing. Here's a great example of where less could be more. If you're a beginner, you've got to this stage of faceting a square. You've cut your crown angles at whatever angle it might be. I've cut mine at 65 degrees, and the indexes are 16, 32, 48 and 64. Then you've cut your corner facets at the same angle, 65 degrees. Those indexes will be 8, 24, 40 and 56. You may wish to just cut the table now and cut them to the meet points of your corner facets, and believe it or not, depending on the type of pavilion facets, it will look great where less is more. So I've cut the second step of the crown at 42 degrees and cut the corner facets into the first step a little bit also. So that's creating the corner facet steps. and the girdle is a little bit thicker because I have no intention of cutting 3 steps in the crown, no point, so I get a nice thick girdle that's good for setting in a ring. So the table is now complete, as you could see in the previous scene, so the next step is to polish all the crown facets. In the following scenes you'll see that I've polished all the crown facets using the cerium oxide lightning disc, and so what I'll do, I'll just add a few thoughts about this particular disc. So firstly, the cerium oxide lightning lap is very fast. It's a lot faster than using tin with 50,000 diamond compound. Quartz is a notorious gem to polish at the best of times. It's a lot easier to polish topaz or zircon. Quartz has a tendency to be difficult to get scratches out of, and the lightning lap handled that really well. If I was going to be a little bit picky, I did notice that under high magnification under the loop I noticed little striations, particularly on the larger facets, and I guess if you were to submit a gem in a competition, a judge might see that. Whereas with the perspex or particularly tin lap you wouldn't get those striations, but then again I'm being picky and it may well be because the lap is brand new. It appears that the lightning cerium oxide laps are the same technology as the new bond laps, so there is a question mark on how long these laps will last and whether they are cost effective. I paid $55 for this Australian, so you kind of want to get at least 20 stones out of it. I'm not sure whether that would be possible, but we'll find out. I rate this lap around 8 out of 10. It's fast, it's effective, it works really well on quartz, and that's a big bonus. It's lost a couple of points, one due to possible striations, and the other is that if you're paying $55, you should at least get a lap you don't need to prepare. So we're drawing to the end of this video and we have the final reveal, which I'm really happy about. I think this gem turned out pretty well. So it's bye for me, and until next time everybody, take care. you.